Buckle up, everyone, because we are diving into a debate that's going to keep you on the edge of your seat. We're stepping right into a courtroom where it feels like the whole future of creativity is literally on trial.
Yeah.
It's like
It is.
a clash of perspectives, right?
Right.
Generative AI.
Right.
Is this an artistic revolution, or is this like an intellectual property nightmare?
You know, what makes this case so interesting is that it really does have a real-world impact on creators, right?
Yeah.
Musicians, artists, writers, everyone. And on the one hand, I think a lot of people are really afraid that AI could diminish what it means to be creative, could lead to like copyright chaos and just a devaluation of art. But then the other side is saying, hey, AI is just a tool, and it's one that can empower creators in ways that we can't even imagine.
Right. It's like a legal thriller.
Right.
But instead of like a whodunit, it's a what will become of human creativity.
Really.
And we've got two sides here going head to head, each presenting their arguments. They got their expert witnesses. They got their evidence. And then, of course, we've got the judges who ultimately are going to deliver a verdict on this whole thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And so just like a real courtroom, we're going to break down the evidence and analyze the arguments presented by both sides. And we're going to start off with the prosecution, or the affirmative side,
Right.
who are arguing that generative AI fundamentally poses a problem for intellectual property.
Okay.
And the heart of their case is how these AI models are trained. You know, they're trained on these massive data sets of existing creative work,
Right.
often without the consent of the original creators.
So it's like they're saying these AI systems are learning by borrowing a little too heavily from human artists, to put it mildly.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty bold accusation. What kind of evidence are they bringing to the table to support a claim like that?
So they've got some strong exhibits.
Okay.
I think a key piece focuses on the music industry, where we've already seen cases of commercially released AI-generated music that sounds, strikingly similar to the work of human artists,
Right.
but without any credit or compensation being given to the original musicians.
Wow.
And so this raises a really big question. If an AI creates a song that's basically indistinguishable from, let's say, a famous artist's style who owns the copyright,
Yeah.
is it the company that developed the AI?
Right.
Is it the user who typed in the prompt?
Yeah.
Or is it the musician whose style the AI learned from?
That's where things get really, really mind-bending.
Yeah.
It's like our traditional understanding of authorship just doesn't even fit in this new world of AI-generated content. And this isn't just about music, right?
Absolutely not. This goes way beyond music. The prosecution also presents evidence from the visual arts. So imagine an AI-generated artwork that's nearly impossible to distinguish from a piece that was created by a human.
Okay.
So they ask the question, is it plagiarism if a machine does it?
Right.
How do we define ownership when the lines between human and AI creation become so blurred?
It's like we're stepping into an episode of Black Mirror where reality and AI creations are just blending together in these unsettling ways. What other concerns are they raising about the impact on creative industries as a whole?
So they paint kind of a bleak picture of the future.
Right.
They're arguing that this widespread use of generative AI could really devalue human creativity.
Right.
And they fear that, we're going to see job losses across music, film, writing, all these creative fields.
Oh, wow.
And they're arguing that it's not just individual artists being impacted, but it's entire industries that are facing disruption.
So their argument is that it's not just about a few artists being ripped off. It's a potential, systemic threat to the whole creative ecosystem.
Right.
But are they offering any solutions to this, or are they just kind of sounding the alarm?
So their solution really fits with our courtroom setting. They're calling for regulation. Clear guidelines and laws, they argue, are essential to govern the use of AI in these creative contexts. For them, this is the only way to safeguard the rights of creators and to ensure that AI advancements don't come at the cost of human artistry.
Now, playing devil's advocate here for a minute, wouldn't strict regulation like that potentially stifle the incredible innovation that's happening in AI right now?
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen in the past how too much regulation can sometimes actually hinder technological progress.
That's a good point. And I think that is a tension that the debate grapples with, right? It's this classic dilemma. How do you balance progress with protection? How do we foster innovation while also ensuring that creators' rights are upheld? And it's a really tricky puzzle that lawmakers around the world are trying to solve right now.
So the prosecution has laid out, a pretty compelling case highlighting these potential risks and advocating for this cautious approach. But let's move on now to the defense's opening statements. What's their perspective on this whole generative AI situation?
They argue that at its core, generative AI is simply a tool, just like a paintbrush or a musical instrument. And so it's not inherently good or bad, it's all about how we use it. And they believe that AI actually has the power to assist and empower artists, not just replace
It
them.
was like the invention of the camera all over again, right?
Right.
Like, remember how some people saw it as a threat to portrait painters when it first came out?
Yeah, for sure.
But ultimately, photography just became its own art form, and it actually expanded creative possibilities in ways that nobody could have even predicted at the time. Could AI follow a similar path?
That's exactly the analogy they draw on. They envision AI as this catalyst for creative exploration and innovation that's going to lead to entirely new forms of artistic expression and unprecedented collaborative opportunities between humans and machines.
Okay, so they see AI as like a potential partner in creativity, not a competitor. But what about the economic implications for artists? Because the prosecution seemed pretty concerned about job losses and the potential devaluation of creative work. How does the defense address those concerns?
They counter those fears by highlighting the potential economic benefits that AI could bring to creators.
Okay.
So, for instance, they talk about how AI could help artists streamline tedious tasks,
Right.
freeing up more time and energy for the truly creative aspects of their work. They also emphasize AI's potential to help artists reach wider audiences, global audiences even, and explore new revenue models.
Interesting.
So potentially unlocking financial opportunities that wouldn't be possible without AI.
So instead of taking away jobs, they're saying AI could actually create new avenues for artists to connect with their audiences and even monetize their work, leading to like a more vibrant and diverse creative landscape. Could this even lead to entirely new business models that would benefit both creators and technology companies?
That's one of the scenarios they explore. They argue that if AI development is approached with collaboration and mutual benefit in mind, we can create a future where AI enhances the creative landscape for everyone involved.
But how do we get there? If the risks are as real as the prosecution is suggesting, what steps can we actually take to ensure that AI is used responsibly and ethically in this creative realm?
The defense emphasizes the importance of education and awareness.
Okay.
They argue that by teaching artists about AI, its capabilities, and how to use it responsibly, we can mitigate those risks and actually unlock its potential benefits.
So their approach focuses on empowering creators with knowledge and skills rather than relying solely on top-down regulations.
Precisely. They believe that a widespread education campaign, one that targets artists, companies, and policymakers, could foster a more collaborative and responsible approach to AI development and its application in creative industries. They envision a future where artists and AI can coexist and even thrive together.
Both sides have presented really strong arguments here, raising valid points, painting very different pictures of what the future could hold. It's a tough call, but the jury has deliberated and they've reached a decision. The verdict is in, and the winner is the prosecution.
Wow. It seems the judges were ultimately swayed by the prosecution's persuasive arguments and their emphasis on protecting human creativity.
But I recall the judges also had some positive feedback for the defense, didn't they?
They did. While they sided with the prosecution, they also commended the defense for raising important points about the need for a balanced approach, one that fosters innovation while also safeguarding the interests of artists.
So it sounds like it was a nuanced decision, one that acknowledges both the potential benefits and the inherent risks of this incredibly powerful technology. Like they're calling for a path forward that embraces AI's potential, but also proceeds with caution and a deep respect for human creativity.
Absolutely. It seems they're advocating for a future where AI and human artistry can coexist and even complement each other, but with careful consideration and ethical guidelines in place.
This has been such a fascinating first act in our courtroom drama, and it's clear that this debate is far from over. The judges may have spoken, but the conversation continues. We'll be back after a short break to delve deeper into the implications of this verdict and explore the paths forward for AI and creativity.
Welcome back to the deep dive. The jury has spoken, but I think it's clear that the future of AI and creativity is, it's a very complex landscape that we're only just beginning to sort of navigate, right?
Yeah, it really is a fascinating sort of crossroads we find ourselves at. I mean, on the one hand, the judges clearly acknowledged the potential benefits of AI, but they also really emphasized that it's important to protect artists' rights and make sure that they benefit from its use as well.
It really is a balancing act.
Yeah.
Trying to embrace the potential of this new technology, but also safeguarding, the heart and soul of human
Yeah.
creativity.
So where do we even go from here?
Yeah, good question.
What are like the key takeaways from this verdict that we as creators, as consumers of art, and I mean even just as curious minds should be thinking about?
Well, I think one crucial takeaway is just the need for greater awareness and understanding of generative AI in general.
Okay.
Like, how does it actually work? What are its capabilities? What are its limitations? And this isn't just an issue for, tech experts or coders or whatever.
Yeah.
It's something that we all need to kind of wrap our heads around. It's almost like we had to learn to navigate the internet and
Yeah.
social media. Now we have to learn to navigate this.
It's like AI literacy is becoming like an essential skill for the 21st century. What other insights do you think we should be gleaning from this whole deep dive?
Well, I think it's important to remember that this debate is not over. It's far from settled. The legal and ethical frameworks around AI, I mean, they're still being developed, and we all have a role to play in shaping what those look like. We can't just passively accept whatever solutions are handed down by governments or by these big tech companies, right?
So we're not just spectators in this technological revolution. We're actually active participants, shaping the future of AI and creativity as we know it. And this kind of brings to mind one of the defense's key points, that need for really open and honest dialogue between all these stakeholders.
Right.
The artists and the developers and the policymakers and just the public in general need to find some kind of common ground and actually collaborate on solutions that work for everybody involved.
Absolutely. And they even offered some concrete suggestions for how we can actually foster this dialogue. Do you remember how much they emphasized education and awareness?
I do, yeah.
They advocated, for teaching artists about AI and how to use it responsibly, and also educating policymakers and the public about the potential benefits and risks involved as well.
So it makes sense. The more we understand each other's perspectives and concerns, the better equipped we'll be to actually find solutions that benefit everyone. What did they suggest as like practical ways to approach this whole education and awareness building process?
So they highlighted a lot of potential, for online resources, workshops, maybe even incorporating AI-focused curricula in schools.
Wow.
They also really stressed the importance of responsible media coverage.
Okay.
Coverage that goes beyond the hype and provides kind of balanced and informative reporting on the real complexities of AI and its impact on creativity.
So it sounds like we need a multi-pronged approach to really reach these different audiences in ways that resonate with them. What else did they highlight in terms of like promoting responsible AI development?
They emphasized the need for transparency from tech companies.
Okay.
The ones that are actually developing these AI systems.
Right.
Their argument was that artists should be informed when their work is being used to train these models, and there should be mechanisms in place to make sure that they're compensated fairly.
So it's like trying to apply the principles of copyright and royalties to the realm of AI.
Right.
Like recognizing the value of the data that's actually fueling these systems in the first place.
Precisely. It's about adapting those existing intellectual property frameworks that we have to the new realities of AI. Of course, there are some who would say that this could really slow down the pace of AI development, like requiring permission for every single piece of data that's used to train these massive models could be just a logistical nightmare.
Yeah, that's a valid concern.
Yeah.
How did the defense address that?
They proposed some pretty interesting alternative models, like, for example, collective licensing agreements.
Okay.
So imagine a system where artists could actually choose to allow their work to be used for AI training, and then they all receive a portion of any profits that are made from the AI's creations.
That's interesting, like an opt-in system where artists actually have more control and can potentially share in the rewards as well. Were there other ideas that they discussed?
They mentioned the possibility of creating these publicly accessible data sets that are specifically designed for AI training.
Okay.
And these could be composed of works that are in the public domain, or works that are licensed under Creative Commons licenses that would explicitly permit this type of use.
So essentially building AI systems that are learning from a vast library of creative work that's already freely available to the public. It sounds promising, but I imagine that building and managing these kinds of data sets would be a massive undertaking.
It definitely would be, but it highlights how important it is to actually consider the ethical implications of AI development from the very beginning. It's not just about building cool new technology, it's about building it in a way that respects creators' rights and fosters a healthy and sustainable creative ecosystem for everyone.
It's about making sure that the future of creativity is one where both humans and AI can actually flourish. Are there any other key takeaways or action items that kind of emerged from this whole debate?
One final point the defense really drove home was this need for ongoing evaluation and adaptation.
Okay.
So these legal and ethical frameworks that we're talking about surrounding AI, they're going to need to be constantly reevaluated and updated as the technology evolves, because the technology isn't going to stop evolving.
That makes a lot of sense. This isn't a static situation. It's a constantly evolving landscape. So it's not about finding like a one-size-fits-all solution, but it's about fostering a much more dynamic and responsive approach that can actually keep pace with these rapid advancements that we're seeing in AI.
Exactly. We need to be nimble and adaptable and recognize that this is an ongoing journey. It's not a destination.
It really does feel like we're all part of this massive experiment right now, figuring out how to harness the power of AI, but while still preserving like the essence of human creativity. I mean, it's a daunting task.
It is.
But also an incredibly exciting one.
It's a really cool time to be alive.
It is. And it's a conversation that I think, we all need to be a part of. Well, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. We've explored the arguments from both sides. We've looked at the evidence. We've really tried to get into the nuances of the judge's decision. But as we kind of move towards our closing statements here, I'm left with this one kind of lingering question that I think cuts to the heart of this entire discussion.
Okay.
If AI can now create art that is literally indistinguishable from something that a human made, what does that mean for, like, the very definition of art itself?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? It really does challenge us to sort of re-examine our fundamental assumptions about creativity and originality and what it even means to be human in a world that's becoming so increasingly intertwined with these intelligent machines.
Yeah, it's like we're stepping into this uncharted territory, right? Trying to redefine what art even means in a world where machines are becoming so good at mimicking human creativity.
And maybe that's not a bad thing. I mean, think back to the early days of photography.
Okay.
People were having huge debates over whether a photograph could even be considered art.
Right.
Now, photography is its own respected art form. It's got its own unique aesthetic principles. It's got a rich history. Could we be on the cusp of a similar evolution with AI-generated art?
That's a really fascinating parallel. Maybe we really are witnessing the birth of a new artistic era, one where these AI tools are just becoming part of the creative process, expanding those possibilities of artistic expression in ways that, we probably can't even imagine right now.
Yeah, I think so. It's certainly possible. Maybe the definition of art will have to become even more expansive to encompass both human and machine creations. And maybe we'll see these new hybrid art forms emerge.
Yeah.
Blending the unique capabilities of AI with the emotional depth and nuanced expression that we usually associate with human artistry.
The mind just reels thinking about all the possibilities. But,
Right.
As we kind of explore these uncharted waters, I think the question of ethics has to remain central to all of this.
Yeah.
The sources that we've examined for this episode, they really highlight this concern about AI perpetuating existing biases. Like, for example, if these AI models are trained on data sets that mostly feature, Western art, let's say, could that lead to AI-generated art that just reflects those same biases and potentially, like, marginalizes or excludes other artistic traditions from around the world?
That is a crucial point. And it really does underscore the need to be very, very careful about what data we use to train these models. It's not just about feeding AI massive amounts of data. It's about making sure that the data itself is diverse and representative and free from these harmful biases that we're talking about. If we want AI to enhance the creative landscape, it needs to reflect the richness and diversity of human culture, not perpetuate existing inequalities.
So it's not just about teaching AI to create. It's about teaching it to create responsibly.
Yeah.
And to create inclusively. It's about ensuring that the future of art in this age of AI is a future that really embraces and celebrates that full spectrum of human creativity in all its glorious diversity.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about recognizing that AI is a powerful tool,
Mm-hmm.
but it is ultimately a tool that's wielded by humans.
Mhm.
And the choices that we make today about how we develop and use AI will determine what the shape of that creative landscape looks like for generations to come.
It's empowering, but it's a little daunting too, right?
Absolutely.
To think that we have that much agency. It's like we're holding the paintbrush, but the canvas is literally the future of art itself.
That's a great way to put it. And just like any artist staring at that blank canvas, we have a chance here to create something truly remarkable. I mean, this deep dive, this has been quite a journey, hasn't it?
It has.
Through this courtroom of ideas, we've weighed the evidence, we've looked at the arguments, and we've grappled with the implications of this technology that's completely transforming how we think about art and creation.
We've explored the anxieties, we've explored the aspirations, the risks, the rewards,
Hmm.
and I think we've ultimately arrived at a place of informed curiosity.
Hmm.
We've learned that the future of AI and creativity, it's not predetermined. It's being written as we speak.
Yeah,
And we all have a role to play in shaping that narrative.
absolutely. So as we step out of this courtroom and head back into the world, I hope we can all carry the spirit of inquiry and engagement with us.
Hmm.
Keep asking questions, keep challenging those assumptions, keep exploring these uncharted territories of this exciting new world where art and artificial intelligence collide.
And remember, everyone, this is just the beginning of your deep dive.
Yeah.
We've given you a starting point, a foundation for further exploration. Now it's up to you to continue that journey. Delve deeper into the resources that we've shared. Form your own conclusions about what the future of creativity holds in this age of AI.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep creating. The future of art is out there waiting to be imagined, and who knows, maybe you'll be one of the artists who helps shape it.
And on that note, we're going to bring this deep dive to a close. Until next time, keep your minds open, your curiosity piqued, and your creative spirit soaring.